One of your fans wanted to ask about your love of marijuana, and another wants to know your favorite strain.
I'm not that much of a connoisseur, so I don't know what strains are. If you have some good smoke, try this. Yeah.
You think it's going to be legal everywhere?
Yeah, I do.
It ought to be.
Yeah, it has to be. They can't continue to say that it's a dangerous drug when it's safer than alcohol.
Ready? Go, 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 go! Go, go, go! Snoop! Go, go, go! Wiz! Go, 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 go! Snoop! Go, 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 go! Wiz! Go, 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 go,
Who else think they can outsmoke the dog? Put your little hands down. You ain't ready yet.
I almost had you that time, man.
You did, nigga. You was working. You was around that last corner, nigga. I was like, uh-oh.
I almost got this nigga, man. Shit.
That shit bomb. I like that filter to that glass shit is cold.
I got a couple more for you,
You
in the
do?
back.
That's
You already
nice.
know.
This show,
Yes, sir.
were you high when you came up with the idea for this show?
I was high when someone told me the idea for
Okay,
this show.
I see. And they thought of you.
And I said yes.
Gotcha.
I could adjudicate like anybody.
Okay,
You know, just because I'm high doesn't mean that my moral stance changes.
Right, now you
on things.
hear the case, and then you adjourn to your quarters, and you smoke you have a different comedian there as your bailiff each time.
We deliberate.
You deliberate.
Which means we sit there and do a bunch of bong rips.
And then you come back, and these people these are real cases who have...
These are real people with real problems.
You come out and tell them
and nobody cares more about them than I do. Because weed is a very empathetic drug.
Is that right? You feel
I think so.
It makes you even more compassionate.
Yeah, I'd feel bad when I was deciding that someone owed someone else a lot of money because they fell asleep on their couch with a joint in their mouth and may or may not have burnt that couch.
And they burnt the couch. But not all the cases...
I don't know. They could be liars.
...are pot-related. There are many cases that have absolutely nothing to do with that.
Nothing to do with pot. Like, I had a guy look after my dog, and now I want it back, and he fell in love with my dog, so he wants to keep it.
Right.
And the guy was absolutely convinced that the dog loved him, and so was the original owner. So we just put the dog down on the ground and let the dog decide.
Like a sitcom, yes.
Like life, Jimmy.
With marijuana, because I was saying to you, I've never smoked marijuana, so I'm curious about what it does for you. And you describe it as an old friend who has never betrayed you.
I think, it calms me down. And I used to drink a lot. I used to smoke a lot of cigarettes. Now I don't. So I think substituting pot for cigarettes and alcohol, it was a smart choice.
You say about pot, my love affair with pot became a long-term marriage. It was by far the smoothest of all my marriages.
It's worked out so far.
How many times have you got jacked for weed now?
A lot.
A lot.
More than 18.
All right, so here's the thing. How many guys get that many and get a day named after them in Pittsburgh?
Well, weed is a peaceful drug. I think if I was getting caught with something a little bit more dangerous, then I wouldn't have gotten that day.
Right.
But, it's getting a little bit more lenient, and people know what my message is to bring everyone together.
It's funny because if you remember back in the early days, Snoop, Cypress Hill, artists, even Black Crowes and rock and roll, that were very big into the Legalize It campaign, and we're in a different place with that now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think it's a trick, honestly. I think they're trying to, bait people in and then be like, ugh! So I'm not getting caught up in none of that. I'm smoking it the same way I was before, and nothing's going to change.
What do you mean?
I'm hiding it. I'm in the back with mine.
Yeah.
You're going to smell me. You might not see me, though.
I think there's a Mount Rushmore of people to smoke with.
Yeah.
And on that, as far as I'm concerned, and correct me if you disagree, I think obviously Willie Nelson is on it.
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg obviously on it.
Yeah.
I think Woody Harrelson is probably on it.
Yeah, probably. He did a lot for weed.
Yeah. And I think
he'd be an easy head to carve at a rock as well.
I feel like you have bumped Cheech and Chong off of the Mount Rushmore.
Wow, that's nice.
In a
Thank
way.
you.
Because they don't seem so involved in that anymore.
No. Yeah, I've been smoking weed a long time, and I mean,
Do people give it to you, or do they ask you for it?
Yeah, well, I smoke weed out in public all the time,
Yeah.
and people will see me and ask if they can have some of my weed, which is crazy to me.
Why? Why is that crazy?
Because it's like if someone was drinking a drink and they were just like, yo, can I have a sip of your drink? I'd be like, no, you can't have a sip of my drink.
It's the germ type
I would
thing?
be a walking cold sore if I shared joints with everyone who asked to share joints with me.
So what do you tell them, no?
I say no. But that being said, if you ever see me out in public and I'm not smoking weed, please offer me your weed.
I see,
Because
okay.
there's a good chance.
You will
But what's
take it from
crazy?
someone else.
My first time smoking chronic in New York, it was a nigga named Patrick. And when he took me to High Times, they had a big bag of chronic. I don't know how the fuck they had it, but they had it. And them niggas gave me that shit. And that was my first time smoking in New York some real chronic. I said, man, I like High Times magazine. I was already fucking with y'all, but when I smoked some real, I was like, you know what?
Yes, sir.
I'm with this shit right here, man. Y'all all right with me.
And you grow up with it, you know what I mean? And eventually when time came where, you know, somehow the connection to doing a cover with High Times came about in 91, it, you know, was like, wow, fuck, we can't believe this is happening, because something you grew up to and they're honoring you by putting you on the cover, that meant a lot to us. So you know, that's what it was for me, because there was really no hip hop artists there to like many of legendary artists, but there was no hip hop artists there that we could relate to be driven to. We were just fans of the magazine, period. So that's how it happened for us. And then when we saw the beautiful fucking BC Bud that was right there in front of us, we were like, do we get to have this? Mm-hmm. Is this ours?
Yeah. I'm telling you, man. First of all, that's why the fuck one of the reasons I'm here, because of them motherfuckers here. Seeing them as the first rap acts on a fucking High Times magazine with Bud that I didn't see on the East Coast, because you know we was chocolate
That
tie
brown, you
all
seen
day.
that green
you seen
shit.
that.
Yeah, put
I
that
seen
like-
that green shit. I was like, is Bud out there like that?
Yeah. Beautiful.
Oh man, I gotta tap into that fucking world.
Do you think they have pot?
Yeah, man.
I know they do.
You know, Seth Rogen was here last week, and we were talking about the Mount Rushmore of pot smokers, and of course you are on that Mount Rushmore. And I think that Seth is on that Mount Rushmore. Who would you put on that Mount Rushmore?
I would put Bob Marley.
Bob Marley. Oh, I forgot. How could I forget Bob Marley? Now Seth has been kicked off the Mount Rushmore. Bob Marley's in there.
Cheech and Chong.
Cheech and Chong. I feel like they've strayed from the
But
mountain.
they the first faces on the mountain, though. You can't.
Oh, yeah.
They the ones who showed us what a mountain was.
You're right. Willie Nelson has to be on the
Willie
mountain.
P. Nelson is definitely on there. And by the way, Willie Nelson is the only person who's ever outsmoked Snoop Dogg.
I believe that.
I had to hit the timeout button. Timeout.
Had you ever hit that button before?
Never.
Never hit that button?
Never.
Wow,
Do you
that
think
is
the whole
something
country
else.
will legalize marijuana?
Yeah,
How long?
5 years maybe. Yeah, I think the way it's going now, and it may, be quicker than that. Once all the so-called smart people see the money, see the bottom line, look at Colorado, Washington, Oregon, and say, wait a minute, we're losing out.
And not everybody supports the legalization of marijuana. Do you worry about the use of it because it's now become so widespread in states where it's legal for recreational use? Do you worry about underage children?
Well, underage children shouldn't be putting anything in their lungs. Pot smoke or cigarette smoke or any other kind of smoke, if they can help it, it's not good for their lungs, and probably not good for their brains. Let their brains get a little smarter, before they start trying things. And I think that's why you need to be an adult to make those decisions.
The argument always against it was that it somehow leads to other kinds of addictions, whether it's cocaine or
I
heroin.
would be the first to say that's wrong. I think it eliminates other addictions for me, and I can only speak for myself.
And he confirms in the book, guys, that he did smoke marijuana at the White House. I got to get on
the roof. Yeah.
On the roof of the White House.
I heard I did.
Yeah. When you were a guest of Jimmy Carter, right?
Yes, I was.
How'd you get up on the roof?
I don't remember.
Nora, there was a friend of his that knocked on the door and said, "Hey, Willie, want to go to the roof?"
I go to the roof, and I said, why not?
Any regrets, Mr. Nelson?
No.
No. I think that's a great life. You can sit here at 82 and say no regrets.
No.
Yeah.
You lived a very full
Great
life.
to have you here.
Thank you, Charlie.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Very nice to see you.
Thank you.